First, apologies from the press club. Before I do the welcome, both Sunil Alak dropped out last minute, and Shobha Day ate some prawns yesterday evening, and his stomach has gone for a 6, and he genuinely can't make it. So this is a new initiative, and hopefully we'll do 1 or 2 books every month. But the right thing is we're going to start with Gujarat Files. May I welcome Maitri Tyagi up on the stage. Rana Ayyub, and he has exposed these things all over. So, I mean, this is the joke in the book also, that everybody thought that Rana was a he and was doing this massive expose all over Gujarat for Telka. Those who have read the book, it's very, very explosive, it's absorbing, and most of all to me, it's like a newspaper read which you can't put down. So it's like, you know, it's like reading a long form newspaper, and that's how she's written it. And I was pretty shocked, you know, that all this was done for Telka, and Telka didn't take it. Now, you know, this is the kind of debate we are entering upon, where more and more doors of media houses are being closed, and we have to find newer and newer methods of getting the word out. In this case, Rana has used her own. She's sort of been a self-publisher, and I know Paranjoy Thakurta also. Similarly, books which other publishers are not willing to publish, he's published it himself, and they've gone on and done well, like the Gas Wars. So, in these forms, in book form or in other forms, we have to use newer and newer methods to get it out. And you know, hopefully the press club and such platforms will definitely aid in that process. So without much ado, you know, there's so many questions around the book, where is it all going to lead to? And I'm still shocked after reading the book that there's not enough in the media about it. I think the response is still too muted, and we've got to question ourselves why so. So let me also ask our senior journalists and senior members of the press club, Ayaz Memon and Kumar Ketkar, to come up on stage.
It is journalists who often create hurdles. Managements do. Managements, it is their business to stop anything which they consider is going to hurt their interest or their relationship with government or their relationship with the politicians. They will definitely try to stop. But before it reaches at that level, it is the journalists who are actually very timid, coward, indifferent, insensitive.
Many words, but did you feel let down that, you know, you had been on an assignment, and therefore, having done your assignment to the best of your ability, finally it's not seeing the light of day?
You know, till the day of the launch, I could not believe the fact that I was self-publishing the book, because I had such amazing faith in Tehelka. I mean, for me, my life revolved around the magazine. I was 26-year-old when I got Amit Shah, the Home Minister, behind bars after my expose. And I thought, you know, I got a great deal of encouragement from the journalist fraternity, and I thought, you know, this is it, I'm going to go undercover, because that was the last resort left with me. And Tarun said, you know, go, sky's the limit, just go do whatever you think is right, but we have to get the big story. I think the first sting tape that I sent them, the transcript that I sent them was of Harin Pandya, the investigating officer in the Harin Pandya case, and Tarun replied saying, this is sensational, this is going to bring the government down, this is that kind of an investigation. And so on and so forth for a period of 8 months while I was there. And suddenly the same investigation that was sensational went on to become a weak, loose story. I mean, on one of the occasions, Shoma told me that she met Ram Jethmalani in Pakistan, and he asked her that the story was weak. I said, since when was Ram Jethmalani the word on an investigation was like this? Because Ram Jethmalani was the counsel for Amit Shah. So it was baffling for me in many ways. I was not given a single explanation. A day post the book launch, unfortunately, Shoma sent out messages to various publications saying that Ashish Khaitan was the one who said that the story cannot be published. I met Ashish a day later. I mean, he had called to congratulate me on the big story. I said, Ashish, well, you called my investigation a coffee table conversation. He said, well, I had not even read your transcripts. How could I be the person to kill it? I said, in that case, why did you take a call that my investigation was a coffee table conversation? So there are wheels within wheels. till date, I have not been able to figure out why Tehelka killed the story. Whether they were uncomfortable with the fact that I had asked questions of the Congress strategy itself, that when the book mentioned Sanjeev Bhatt, in a very dicey light. I mean, for me as a journalist, if I have to mention one thing as wrong from a transcript, as a journalist, my ethics say that I also have to mention the other thing as wrong. That's the job of a journalist. And there are certain things that the Congress did which was in the realm of grey area, and I exposed that bit.
You did try publishing houses, and did you get assurances and then they backed off, or what happened?
One of the publication, right after Tarun refused to publish the book, so I went to a publisher just right in GK2, very well known, and she said, yeah, I'm going to publish this book. Next day she said, called me and said, Tarun has called and said the story belongs to them. Immediately I went to another high-profile publisher and they offered me a contract. In 2013 December, they stopped taking my calls. I had a contract with them for 1 year. 2013 December, they stopped taking my calls. After about a month of messaging, mailing, calling them, there was no response. Finally, I dropped in a mail to one of the editors in the publication house saying, you know, I'm not hearing from you guys. Do you want me to withdraw the manuscript? That immediately came a reply within 5 minutes, please go ahead. 2014 Jan, I approached every possible editor in this country, mostly from Delhi, all the newspaper editors, including various news channels and their top bosses, and they said, well, Sting is not really great journalism. I mean, the same people now publish Sting operations on various channels. One of them said, yeah, Narendra Modi is coming to power, it's not a good idea. Later in 2015, I was about to self-publish this book when another big publication house called me and said, you know, you can't self-publish this book, we are here, we have had a management change, and we will publish this book. I said, okay, I mean, as long as I have a backing. 4 months down, they kept on telling me, we are waiting to hear from our lawyers, and kept on. In the meanwhile, they would send me books on fashion, photography, cookbook, everything except my contract. So finally, I figured that, you know, this was a way of telling me that, you know, we actually cannot do that. So I took the call and I decided to self-publish it. Once I'd written the book, I got people who, you know, who were in the editing business to just edit my manuscript. I called up Justice Shri Krishna and I said, I've heard great things about you. And when I want somebody to write a foreword for my book.
You didn't know him?
I had not met him before. Of course, I had known of him. I had reported extensively on Justice Shri Krishna's report. But I thought, to my mind, I thought he was the best person because there were great similarities between what happened in Bombay and Gujarat. There was state complicity in both the riots, and I thought that he was the best person. And I went to meet him. He said, give me some time, I have to read the manuscript. He read it. He sent me a message about a week ago saying, Maithili, can you see me? And I went to see him. He said, this is my last attempt at justice, and the reason why I'm writing a foreword to this book is because in my when I was heading the commission, officers would come and depose before me and say the things which these officers are telling you as Maithili Tyagi. I can see parallels to the story, and this is the reason why I write this foreword for you.
For those who have not read the book, Maithili Tyagi was her alias. She had, you know, pretended to be Maithili Tyagi, or
this American filmmaker whose father was a Sanskrit professor who also went to RSS Shakha.
Yeah. What is your opinion about sting operations? I mean, they are profuse in the media today.
Well, I am not exactly fond of sting operations too much, because sting also can be very clipped and quite biased. Because you can pick up a photograph, you can pick up a statement which suits your kind of ideology or your kind of line or the channel's kind of line or owner's line. So sting is not always a full sting. Sting will be against sting.
Yeah, I was not very fond of sting operation, to be very honest. I don't believe in the school of journalism that practices sting. I mean, in today's day and age, you go on Hindi news channels and they do a sting operation on the Bhajiwala as well. And sting is supposed to be the last resort for every journalist. When you go in the Western countries, you had Nellie Bly, who did a brilliant undercover investigation, and she's considered the finest investigative reporter. She used an undercover. She went undercover only when she realized that she had exhausted every possible means. In my case, I mean, here I was a journalist with Tehelka. That immediately translated into the fact that I am always equipped with a sting camera, although I was not. How could I then, in a state like Gujarat with a Muslim identity, even get into that bit? When I was getting the Amit Shah papers, when I broke the Amit Shah story and his call records, I remember the officer who gave me these papers met me at 3 in the night at a dargah when the Qawwali was on. That's the kind of scrutiny, that's the kind of surveillance that takes place in Ahmedabad. While I was doing my mainstream reportage, my calls were tapped each day. I had to routinely change my SIM card. There was no other way out for me. I mean, if given a choice, if I could get the papers, if I had, for instance, the officers who I speak, let me speak for them. If they were strong enough, I would not have needed a sting operation. All these officers who have stung, they are home secretaries, DG of police, commissioner of police, ATS chief. What was stopping them from speaking to the commissions of inquiry? They were good officers, they were not necessarily bad officers. But the fact that the good officers were weak, had compromised, forced me to take up this sting, forced me to take this method. And ironically, on one of the days when I was doing a sting on Ashok Narayan, Kailash Nathan, who was Modi's secretary, walked in and he said, "Oh, here is Maithili, she's a filmmaker." So Kailash Nathan tells Ashok Narayan, "Oh, actually sir, आपने जो टिकट मांगा था आपके brother-in-law के लिए, वो मोदी जी दे रहे हैं उनको एमएलए का टिकट." That's how you realize they co-opted people, co-opted officials who they knew could spill the beans. Ashok Narayan, PC Pandey, Chakravarti, they all deposed before the Nanavati Commission. I fail to understand that if they could speak to me, why couldn't they speak to the Commission? As for Gujarati journalists, I was in Gujarat the day before for the book launch. I was stunned. The journalists were combative. The questions they would ask me were, we all knew this. We all knew this off record. I said, if you knew this, why didn't you talk about it? He said, but this Harin Pandya story is so big, why aren't you doing something about it? I said, that surprises me. The Harin Pandya story is so big, why is it not on your front pages? At least Ahmedabad should have had Harin Pandya massacre. I mean, Harin Pandya was the biggest political murder. I mean, if the investigating officer in the Harin Pandya murder says that the murderer who killed him was in our custody and the investigation was watched up at the orders of Modi and Advani, then I do not know what is a more deserving story than this. You know how I got the phone numbers of every officer? So I'd call the Gujarat police helpline and say that, I've come from Los Angeles, I'm from the American Film Institute Conservatory, and I'm making this film, Mr. Modi, and how great he's doing. And immediately I would get every possible number and every possible help under the sun. And one of the officers volunteered to take me out for film, somebody volunteered to take me out shopping. PC Pandey went to Nepal, he brought me a shawl and earrings. And I didn't know how to react because these were the same people who had, PC Pandey tells me so nonchalantly in one of the Ehsan Jafri stings in Maruda Patia. So I tell him, sir, ये जो गुजरात में दंगे हुए हैं, अच्छा लगा होगा ना आपने एक मतलब सेल्फ को हमको मुसलमानों को ऐसा किया, एक सेल्फ फीलिंग अच्छी आई होगी, बता हाँ उन्होंने 2 बार मारा, हमने 1 बार मारा, अच्छा लगा. That's the commissioner of police. I mean, in any other state, if this would have happened, if the commissioner of police would have said this, he would have been behind bars, there would have been an investigation. Yesterday you saw Arnab interviewing Prime Minister Modi. I was stunned. I mean, when they said during emergency, when asked to bend, they crawled. Here, they have not even been asked to bend and they're prostrating before Narendra Modi. The investigation was 8 months, but the cover
is a long time.
It's a long time. I mean, I did not speak to my family. I spoke to them once from a PCO. I was not in touch with them because they're very smart people. You can always figure. If I was using my original number, they kind of, if they have to get into surveillance mode, then they kind of keep a tab on the person, and every signal that I cross, they know if I am meeting any activist or somebody who is anti-government, they keep a tab on it. So I had sanitized my laptop completely. On one of the occasions, they actually frisked my room, which I figured later. So, and luckily for me, on my laptop, the screen read Om and Om Shanti, and there was an image of Lord Krishna on the screen. So they couldn't figure anything there. They were all literature, and they were all great books by M.V. Kamath and Narendra Modi, which were all there on my shelf. All those great books about Modi, and so there were some Sanskrit books and English to Gujarati translation books. So they figured that this girl is perfectly fine. Plus, I had two foreign nationals. One was from France and one was from Greenland.
But were they real or?
They were real. They were absolutely real. In fact, one was in India for an exchange program, and I told him he had come for an exchange program with Tehelka, and I said, he was only 19. But right now, as we speak, he must be around 25, and he is now working at an NGO in Bihar, and he speaks fluent Maithili.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one was this girl from Greenland who was a pastry chef there, and she used to stay in the Nehru Foundation. So I became friends with her, and she loved dancing and cooking, and she had a great accent. you know, she had a terrific accent to go with. So when I went to meet Geeta Johri, I would tag her along. And Geeta Johri would talk to her about her daughter and stuff, and then immediately, in another breath, she would talk to me about what she did to Sohrabuddin, etc. So I think these foreigners came very handy.
Did they know at all what you were doing? Or did they have any inkling, or they were
The
just...
first one knew, the second one, the girl from Greenland, had no idea.
So did he feel any apprehension about what he's getting into?
No, I think he was very brave. He said
19-year-old.
19-year-old. For a 19-year-old, he knew a great deal about world history. He had read about the conflict. He had read Edward's side. For a 19-year-old, that was quite a feat. He knew of the officers more than I knew. He would at times advise me on my line of questioning. Brilliant guy. I mean, I was fortunate to have him. And in fact, I told him, when I went to meet Modi as Maithili Tyagi, he was along with me. And what an intelligent boy. He would tell Modi the moment he met him, "Sir, when I was coming, I saw your picture in the auto and I was so impressed." And Modi was stunned, and Modi would tell him about how he wants to be like Barack Obama. And you know, he took him around, and I was seated there while he took the French guy around and showed him everything. And I wondered, what the hell have I done to become this indifferent?
You can be killed. And the fact that she is alive today itself is a matter of celebration. That, let me tell you, there is not an iota of exaggeration in what I am saying. That she is alive today and talking, and I want her to be like this.
The Shri Krishna is here. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. The Justice Shri Krishna has read the book and he now chooses to refer me only as Maithili, and that's very kind of him. I gave an interview to 2 news channels right after this expose, and they took my interview. It's been a month, they haven't really telecast the interview. I wrote to a week before the launch of the book, 2 mainstream political magazines were supposed to publish excerpts as the cover. I landed in Bombay for the last minute preparation because I was to leave for Delhi a day before the launch, and the editor-in-chief of one of the magazines said, "Rana, can I betray your trust once again? I cannot publish this. Amit Shah has really been very tough on us." That's the circumstance in which we live in Delhi. Every possible news editor, television editor, politician turned up at my event. So the next day I opened the newspaper, there was nothing. I was stunned. I said, you know, there was every possible politician present. We made such stunning revelations and not a single newspaper reported on it. So I started this bit on social media about the self-censorship, not censorship, but self-censorship by mainstream media. We were trying to censor it ourselves, expecting some kind of trouble. So I started trending it. Of course, Caravan, its web version, Wire and Scroll came to the rescue. I think it was very brave of them. I think they really held the flag high. They carried the chapter from the book on their respective websites. And
News Laundry did an interview.
News Laundry did something later.
I think
Madhu Trehan did. And Madhu Trehan came to interview me saying, "Oh, you know what, I had a conversation with Tarun Deshpal last night and he said the book is gibberish, and I, Rana, to be fair, think the book is gibberish." And she said, you know, let's be fair. The fact that you're writing this book must come from the fact, I mean, the reason why you write the book must somehow come from the fact that you yourself are a Muslim, that forces you to self-publish the book. I said, "You sure you're asking me this question, and am I allowed to take offense?" I mean, that was Madhu Trehan. She's the editor, head of News Laundry. She's interviewing me, and I don't know how to answer a question like this. Why can't I be seen as just a journalist? Why do I have to be seen as Rana Ayyub? I mean, if Hartosh writes about 84, he's not called a communal journalist or a Sikh journalist. Or if Rahul Pandita writes about Kashmiri Pandits, he's not questioned me. Regional media, of course, I mean, I bow my head in gratitude. I think regional media has stood by me for the last 1 month. They have given amazing reviews. They have given front page coverages to the news, from Inqilab to Lok Satta to newspapers in Assam to Madhyamam. There's so many of them. So I am not here to sit in judgment of the content. I have, to the discerning reader, passed on information which was lying with me for 5 years. It was sitting on my conscience, and I thought they had to read it because I wanted history to be at least kind and objective to me where it was concerned. Because I did not want to go down in history as a journalist who slept on a story, on a big story like this, when it could have changed. People are asking me, why didn't you publish this story in 2014 and perhaps it could have stopped Modi from coming to power? I turned around and asked the same people that had I done that, you would have accused me of political motivation. You would have said, "Oh, she's doing this for the Congress."
I thought there was something interesting, but I told her, "Look, I have been a judge and I can't help thinking like a judge. I cannot validate what you have said, but I appreciate the courage with which you have done. There are other agencies in this country who can go into it. If there is something in it, investigate it. And there are other agencies who will deal with it. There are courts who will take care of it. All that I can say is, it is an investigation in the right direction, and steps that you have taken, if it comes to some culmination, I will also be happy along with it.
And before we end, a big thank you to all the panelists. The President of the Press Club, Prakash Akolkar, to come up and give a small memento as a token for this massive effort which Rana has done.